And here at Ritchie Valens is a graveyard. We got to be quiet about this. I got to be a little bit respectful, but I also had to do this. This is Coins in History. Thanks. Hello, my name is Jameson Chase Young. This is Coins in History. What you just saw was the San Fernando Valley Cemetery at Ritchie Valens' grave. We'll be coming back to that. Here, we're standing in Clear Lake, Iowa, where Ritchie Valens, the Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly all perished, and the pilot named Roger Peterson. So this is, a pretty special place in a bad way, kind of a sacred place. That's why so many people come here. I sat in the parking lot right outside for an hour watching some documentaries before I came here, and 3 or 4 people pulled in, and this place is in the middle of Iowa. There's no other reason for them to come here, but multiple people per day, every day come here. And when you come here, there's a parking lot at the end, and then you got to walk half mile into the cornfields. And this is private property, but the farmer leaves it open, so people can visit their heroes. And this is where the Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens and the Big Bopper passed away. That's the day the music died, is what they call it. It's really sad. Ritchie Valens, he had only debuted just 8 months earlier, so it's a tragic thing. He was only 17, 1957. This is true. It's mentioned in the movie. And he was a junior high student, and he wasn't at school that day. But there was a mid-air collision that crashed over near his school, and this led to Ritchie Valens always having a fear of flying. So that's not just Hollywood. That's actually how it happened. 3 hits that he's known for: Donna, La Bamba, and Come On, Let's Go. He sang some other ones too, but those are his 3 biggest ones that he's known for. The Big Bopper, Chantilly Lace, is the only one I can think of. They do have, and then Buddy Holly, he had actually, although he was only 22, he had actually had a pretty established career by that time. But regardless, who knows how big these guys could have been. And it has these records here by Peggy Sue, by Coral, I guess that's the record label, Delphi, Donna, and then Mercury, Chantilly Lace. So, and then, people come here and they leave, mainly nice stuff, flowers. They leave sunglasses. When you first come in and you see the whole thing on at the beginning of the cornfield, there's a huge glasses, those 1960s nerdy glasses, and then people leave sunglasses all up and down those huge glasses. Ritchie Valens, he was born in 1941. And this happened February 3rd, 1959. So he was just getting started with life. Ritchie Valens, I think some of the reason why he's so remembered is there's a mystique to the kid, Buddy Holly was already kind of an established star. But Ritchie Valens, he just debuted and only had a few hits before he died. So he's kind of like that athlete who does really great but gets hurt super early in his career and is never the same. So it's there's always this wonder, how good could have he been? How good was he? Well, that's kind of with Ritchie Valens. And on top of that, there's very little camera evidence and stuff with him. There's only one live tape recording of his live concerts. Or they don't even know who recorded it, as far as I know. But somebody recorded a live concert performance of him, and that was the only live concert performance they had of him. And if you come here in July, it's a hot one. But when you first pull up, it's there's a parking space at the end of the little farmer's dirt path here, and then when you walk across the gravel road, that's where you'll see there's a pair of those 1960s nerdy ones, the ones that Buddy Holly was really famous for wearing. Actually, everybody used to wear them back then, but that's how it is when you first pull up. And then on those sunglasses, or on those regular glasses, there's just a whole bunch of people left a lot of other glasses. And then when you keep walking by that, there'll be a farmer's path, and you keep walking, and eventually you'll get to the memorial. And When you're walking up to the San Fernando Valley Cemetery, Ritchie Valens' grave is actually really close to the front. You can't miss it. You just drive into the front gates and it's right off to the side. And Ritchie Valens, as we all know, was the 17-year-old kid who died in a plane crash in Clear Lake, Iowa on February 3rd, 1959. And he's most famous for, obviously, La Bamba. I mean, I think that's most people's favorite song of his. But I also really like Come On, Let's Go. There's even schools named after him and all that stuff. I think his brother Bob died in 2018, not too long ago. Here it is. Yeah, I think Ritchie's kind of like, he's definitely a hometown hero around here. You know, when you're going around the San Fernando Valley area, there's parks named after him, there's streets named after him, there's schools named after him. This is where he lies with his mom. And on the tombstone you can see Come On, Let's Go and La Bamba, two of his most famous songs, and his birth date. I don't know where Bob is. Bob passed away in 2018, I believe. But who knows, maybe Bob's around here too. But yeah, and it was, according to legend anyway, it was his death with Buddy Holly that helped inspire the American Pie song that came out years later. When Ritchie Valens was 16, he was invited to join a local band called the Silhouettes. In his personal life, it is true, he was in a relationship with a girl named Donna Ludwig, his high school sweetheart. And yes, Donna, the song, was written about her. And yeah, they died on, it was called the Winter Dance Party Tour. It was definitely really one of the biggest tragedies. I mean, if you've ever seen the movie La Bamba, it's kind of really heartbreaking. And yeah, like I said, he's definitely a hometown hero around here, because all around here is, you know, there's parks named after Ritchie Valens and all sorts of streets and everything. But it was here in 1959, or it was here where he was buried. And it was in 1959 that this happened.